Welcome, everybody, to the first Bunker Talk ever. And I'm very happy to have a partner of mine and a friend, Mike Ross with Heartland Payroll, here with me to kick off our series. Welcome, Mike. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me. I'm actually excited to be here.
Nice. So I'm happy to have you here, and thanks for being the first victim of mine. I'm glad it's you.
That's good. That's good. I think things like this make us better.
Sure. And you're easy to talk to, so this will be fun.
All right, good. Let's have some fun.
Not only does Mike do our payroll, but he's a networking partner of mine that we've known for a very long time. And so we just want to ask him a couple questions about what business owners should know when they're choosing a payroll company to partner up with.
Gosh, it's a loaded question,
right? Like, just right out the gate. Let's just do it.
Let's go for the hard stuff. Well, I would tell you is that there's a lot of things that people don't think about in the payroll space, right? Because honestly, you just want your employees to get paid on time,
sure,
without interruption, right? So the real question is your payroll easy to handle? Is it easy for you? Are you busy running your business or running payroll instead of your business?
Right.
So, and I think that goes to a lot of business topics, like whether it's payroll or accounting or sales, whatever that looks like. It's how do you take this thing that's not your specialty off of your plate, put it to someone that's what they do for a living. Like
mm-hmm.
That's their specialty, right? And then that allows you more time to go run your business.
Right.
That allows you to make money where you're good at, right? I say this all the time: the business owner's most expensive cost is their time, because
sure,
they're the most valuable asset in looking at their business from the 30,000-foot view, right? So for me, from a payroll specific type talk, I talk about like how is your current payroll company, or how are you, if you don't have it outsourced yet, how are you handling certain avenues of payroll that are time consuming, right? So, are you currently doing any kind of electronic onboarding? What does your hiring process look like?
Mm-hmm.
So, are you using your payroll company? Do they handle your applicant tracking? So are you streamlining the hiring process itself? Once you've got there, or maybe you don't do that or don't need it, but how are you onboarding that new hire? How long does that take you, right? Like, how many hours of time when you bring them in the first day are you wasting going all over the basics where you could have collected all that information pre-board, like before they got there, right? So obviously that's a big deal. Are you getting the money for hiring those folks? Like, there's tons of tax credits out there. Is your payroll company help you get those tax credits, right? So we talk about Heartland, like, as an example. We were very involved in the PPP. We are very involved in the employee retention credit, helping our customers get that money back. Obviously, amending their returns. We're even if we bring a client on that wasn't ours during that time, we'll still go back and amend those.
Oh wow,
returns
that's
for
great.
them.
Yeah. A lot of business owners don't know about that credit.
No, I still talk to people every day. And the one that's more common, like, so the PPP is good done, right?
Right.
The ERC is, we have a 3-year window, but it's actually done. You're not going to earn it anymore. You either did or you didn't.
Right.
The credit that's out there that's the most prevalent for you to hire somebody is the work opportunity tax credit. And so that credit looks like this. If you hire somebody that hasn't had a job in 27 weeks, that is a felon or a veteran or someone that lives in a low-income area, part of the SNAP program, there's a ton of reasons why the government wants to pay you to hire that individual. Obviously, they want to take them off programs. So this is a big deal, right?
It's an incentive.
So last year, 2021, the federal government gave over $3 million of WOTC tax credit to business owners around the country. Heartland was responsible for getting $1.7 million of those dollars to their businesses. It's a unique kind of credit. It's literally as you hire somebody. But what's crazy is over 30% of the actual employee population that you're out there grabbing from qualify for something. Whether that credit's $2,400 or $9,600 or somewhere in the middle, the reality is not all payroll companies even help you get it. And if they do, maybe they charge like an arm and a leg, right? So we feel the value is there to have that be part of that process. So are you doing that? Are you using the work opportunity tax credit? Are you doing payroll all by yourself? If there's a problem, you want everything to be perfect, right? The perfect payroll every time.
Yeah.
But if there is a problem, how do you talk to your payroll company now? Is it a 1-800 number to the middle of nowhere?
Right.
Or do you have a dedicated payroll specialist?
That's what I was going to say, even with those credits, right? Like if they're trying to get that credit, it's not the person that comes in to sell you your payroll services. It's you get shipped off to someone else.
Yeah.
And that's not the person that's helping you or even reminding you that those credits are available or how to get it. And that's one of the benefits of Heartland.
Yeah. And the big deal is the fact that, we're a technology company. So we do everything, we make it a lot easier, right? Because we're doing everything from a technology standpoint. Now I'll tell you that I have customers all the time that are out there that they just don't want to deal with the technology yet. So that's the other thing too, right? So like, do you still want it to be old school, right? Do you still want to have the paper apps? Okay, we can do that too. We try to show you why it's a better idea not to, but if that's what you want, look, I have clients that are still calling in their payroll.
Oh my gosh.
I actually have one. I have one client that still faxes.
Oh, we don't even have a fax machine. Like when someone asked me my fax number, I wouldn't even know it.
Yeah. So, but again, that's the idea here is to provide a value that is bar none to any other payroll company out there, right? And look, we know that we're a niche, right? We focus on what we're really good at.
Right.
We're a payroll company. We're a technology company. I'm going to integrate with your healthcare, whether that be through Ease or Employee Navigator. We're going to integrate with your 401k provider. We're going to make that connection through Secure Submit. We're going to create the opportunity for you to do pay-as-you-go for workman's comp. But I don't sell those products, right? That's your job, right? So
that's why this works.
Yeah, it does, absolutely. And so one of the other things that I tell people all the time is, hey, listen, it's okay when someone says, hey, it's one experience, it's all together. But like, what does that all together look like? Do you have one person in the room that's trying to do everything and be the expert at everything? Because that's never a thing.
No. And no.
It's just not.
It's never a good idea. No.
So while we can touch everything and make it seamless and feel like that one experience, we want to bring in partners that are actually experts in that field. So I would tell you every day, like, ask me payroll questions. I'm an expert at it. You run a business, I guarantee you're not an expert at payroll. That's not what you want to do. And whatever that is, I don't know that business. A lot of times I'll talk to my customers like, hey, I know I'm about to do your payroll, but can you explain a little bit more about what you actually do? Because it's confusing to me, right? And that's the goal is I'll do what I'm really good at and you do what you're really good at. And then the other thing too is, unlike, and again, this isn't about bashing other payroll companies, right? No. There's a lot of good payroll companies out there. So if you're happy, you're happy, right? Now, sometimes you don't know you're missing things, but like that's
you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
But what I'll say is this, if you're calling to the middle of nowhere and you don't have a dedicated person, that's not necessarily good. And if you just have people that are out there in sales, that's not a bad thing. It's a model that's out there for quite a bit of them, where you run around and you have someone that comes in and knocks on your door, they sell you the product, and then 2 months later, you'll never hear from them again. And if you have a problem, you don't know where to go.
Right.
One of the things that Heartland realized early on, and we've been around since 1994. So we're not brand new, right? No. We're the third largest publicly traded payroll company in the United States, right? We have over 50,000 payroll clients alone. We're part of the Global Payments Network, and we're a Fortune 500 company. So that's all good, right?
Right.
But what's most important is that we don't have salespeople. I'm not a salesperson. I own my book of business just like you do. Even though that I do work for Heartland and we're all W-2 employees. It's a very unique opportunity in the fact that when I bring a client on, they get a dedicated payroll specialist. That's what I call like the 411 phone call. But they also get to keep me. I'm the 911 phone call. Every one of my customers has my cell phone in their my phone number in their phone. And if they need help, they call me.
Right. You're accessible. That's half the battle, right? I mean, that's happening in every business. I mean, how many people sell you something and then they go away?
Yeah.
And then you're just pushed on to someone else. And that's not ideal. And that's not who I want to partner with. I want someone that gives that type of service because it makes me look good.
Absolutely.
As well.
Again, the idea is that you can go run your business. And so if I can help you take that issue or problem off your plate, look, the IRS is not perfect. So you might get a notice one day and you're like, what do I do with this?
Right.
Half my customers are like, I don't have time to sit here and scan this thing. And I'm like, just take a picture on your phone. Right. Send me every page. I'll deal with it. Right. And then I'll go to the tax department and send it all in and say, hey, can you handle this for them? And then we'll look at what it is. And if it's payroll related, we're going to do that. And if it's not, I'm going to be like, hey, let's talk to your CPA and figure out what this really is, because it's not a payroll thing. Right. So, and half the time they don't know. But that doesn't mean anything to them. They just need the help. And so That's why I'm there, right? So to be that like guide.
Yeah, and it's different because it's, yes, the service is payroll, but really what they're getting is a resource. With Mike Ross, the payroll champ, and Heartland, right? It's together, you're more than just a payroll service.
Absolutely. And listen, again, Heartland is a bigger picture.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, we're owned by Global Payments, but we are a credit card processing company. We're a payroll company. We own point of sale systems like Heartland Restaurant. Mm-hmm. So, and look, everyone has what they're good at. Again, value comes in that from the technology side, where we're so confident in the products that we have that are out there. We don't even make our products exclusive. As an example, like we're off topic here, but like when you talk about point of sale in the restaurant space, a lot of the folks that are out there that own restaurants are buying a point of sale system, and they're being forced to use whatever credit card processing comes with that system. Our thought process is, well, if our technology is good enough,
right, and
our processing is good enough, you'll want them both. But if you love your credit card processor, that's okay. Use our point of sale. Use me for payroll. Mm-hmm. Use your credit card processor. We'll allow it because it's okay, because we just believe in our product. And obviously, if long term you find the value in using Heartland for credit card, we'd love it. But we're okay if you don't either.
It's also less aggressive business model, right? To strong arm people into having to use the whole platform. I mean, people like things the way they like things, and if they're used to something and they don't want to change that portion, or if they don't have a problem with that section just yet, you'll probably get it eventually. But that is a more friendly business model to take as well.
So we'll go back to payroll for a second. We'll talk about the time and attendance, right? So there are hundreds of time and attendance platforms out there, and a lot of times you got the time and attendance platform because you fell on it. Someone told you it was good. You don't know what you're missing, but it works for you. And if it does, and it doesn't cost you anything, or you feel like it's just good the way it is, well, I don't need you to use Heartland Time, mm-hmm. even though I'll show you the product and you might want to look at it down the road. But we can look at how we can integrate your time and attendance into our payroll platform. How do we make those two things connect so that you're not doing it manually? Mm-hmm. That's another thing. We talk about value in technology is how do we take that task that's taking you, gosh, if let's say you're a payroll company, let's say you have as a company 200 employees and you're manually putting all those hours in. Someone's sitting there and you're paying that person to sit there and type that in. If it came down to it and we couldn't integrate, what we believe the value that we provide is that you can just send us the list and we'll enter it for you. So now you'll still have to review it to make sure it's right. But if I just eliminated 2 hours, 30 minutes, whatever it looks like, that's a time saver for you. So, and I'm sure the person that's doing that has plenty of other things on the plate. I mean, how hard is it to hire right now?
Yep.
I mean, everybody that works that I know that I have as clients, not one of them calls me and goes, man, did you know it's so easy to hire right now? I have a surplus. I'm looking at letting people go.
I have so many employees that I love.
No, it's literally like, Mike, I'm begging you, how can we get more people? Mm-hmm. I can't even find people to work. That's where we are today.
Yep. And so if there is a business out there that maybe is, not happy with who they currently have, I feel like one of the biggest challenges, even as a business owner, I don't have a ton of employees, but the thought process of having to switch and learn a new platform and all of that stuff. How hard is it to switch payroll companies?
Another loaded question. I love these. No, you know what I'll tell you is that everyone thinks it's harder than it is.
It feels like it's a hard task.
And it's probably because at one point over their years in business, it was hard. Mm-hmm. Whoever they switched from and to made it feel hard.
It's been a while, and that's the technology aspect that makes it better.
And the other thing too is they don't know, like so many people, and knock on wood here, so many people go out and say, hey, we'll do it all for you. They'll tell you how easy it's going to be, but then it's not.
Right. And
then they have a bad taste in them. So now when I tell them the same thing, they're like, yeah, I don't believe you, right?
That's what they all say.
So here's what I tell people. It's so easy to move to Heartland, and as long as I can get the access. I tell them that up front.
Right.
If I can't get the access, this could be pain, this could hurt a little bit. And so then at that point we talk about strategy. Like when should we move to make it less painful? Should I have you move at the beginning of a quarter? Should we wait till January? Depending on the size of the company, right? And there's a lot of details to go with that. Mm-hmm. Whether, small companies under 20 employees, we could probably move them whenever because it's just not a lot of data. But if I can't get access, we'll probably want to move it to the end of a quarter just because it'll be easier to collect that way. But if I can get access, literally all I need is a copy of a voided check, the access, a copy of your either 941 or your FEIN letter, and that's it. Literally, my team will log in as you, and then we'll go through the process of moving all of that data from the old payroll platform to the new payroll platform. Now, I can't see under the covers until after we log in. So
Sure.
if you're using a very antiquated payroll company and the data is not there, that's where the hiccup could come in, right? So I tell them up front, like, look, as long as all the data is there, you don't have to do anything but verify the document. So when I'm done, my team enters all the information. We're going to turn it back over and say, hey, look at this. Make sure it looks right. Right here, this is the old system. It takes you 5 minutes to review it versus hours to move it. So we'll do the heavy lifting.
Yeah, that's good to know, because it is, I feel like, especially if you have, even 25 employees, 50 employees, for the person that handles that, it seems like it's a daunting task. And when they're used to those platforms and the convenience of knowing how to do something, it's always a challenge for business owners, but it's definitely worth it, especially not even the price savings that they can get with Heartland if there is any available, but also just, not having to call 1-800-NOWHERE, right? Having the resource in person is definitely beneficial. And so then what do you think is one of the, I know you touched on this a little bit, but like, what is it that makes Heartland unique?
Well, I think the big point is the technology, right? That we're a technology-based and we really customer service-based company. So like, it's a really big deal for us, right? So the things that I talked about, we call them distinctions, right? Now you might be with a payroll company that has some of them, but maybe not all of them, right? So we talk about, like, we're not going to nickel and dime you. We're going to agree upon a price. We're going to sit down together. You're a business owner to business owner. We're going to come up with what's fair and equitable. So obviously we can pay our folks on our side to do the service. And then on your end, you're not going to overpay. You're going to be happy with that. And then we're going to guarantee that price for 3 years, right? The technology behind it, the electronic onboarding, not all payroll companies can even do that. And if they do, some of them charge more money for it, right? Integrations with 401k, integrations with healthcare, integrations with workman's comp, all of these things that, again, lesser payroll companies might not provide, right? There's different types of payroll for everyone. You have to need these services. If you're a stagnant company, you're never going to hire and you're never going to have any turnover, I might not be the best fit just because all the stuff that's so valuable you don't use, right? So it's one of those things where we sit down and talk about it. A lot of times, if you are hiring, I mean, the WOTC tax credit alone could pay for your entire cost of payroll. People don't realize that. If you're on a hiring spree, those are full credits, like, that you get to put back in your pocket as a business owner.
Oh, that's great. One last question is, if someone is looking to maybe possibly just think about making the switch, or what would you say are give us 2-3 points of data or where they see for cost savings when it comes to payroll? Like, what are the metrics, I guess, that as a business owner you would like to look at?
So I think it depends on where they're coming from.
Okay.
There's traditional payroll companies out there. There's the do-it-yourself model. No one can beat free, but
but it's not free.
It's never free.
No.
What I try to tell people, I say, I can't beat free because that's how you look at it, but you're doing it. So like, if I started calculating how long,
and you're not
take,
the expert,
right? And so it's funny, like in those spaces, I've had clients where they're like, no, I could do this myself, and then like a few months later, hey, I screwed up and I didn't pay this tax on time, and I got a bill for $826 to. Yeah, I get it.
Yep.
You're trying to run a business, and I understand. So then that's when they're like, hey, it's time. Let's do it. And then they'll call like months later and go, that was the dumbest thing I ever did, waiting this long. This is great. I can't believe it's freed up so much time, because they didn't even realize how long it really took them, because they never really tried to dig into it. The big aspect I would say is that there's, like I said, traditional payroll, do it yourself. And then there's something called employee leasing. And I'll talk a little bit about that. Just employee leasing is something that's necessary, that's out there for some businesses.
Sure.
They don't have a choice, right? As you know, sometimes we can't get workman's comp written, right? So
roofers, for example, if you're on a roof
and you're under 20 employees, right?
I mean, I don't have any that are over. So for me, I even have a public adjuster, that he's not necessarily, obviously not a roofing company, but he does get on top of roofs. And he came to me for workers' comp, and they all declined, because he does get on a roof occasionally.
And it's funny because when you get the bigger companies, right? If you find someone out there that's 150 employees in a roofing company, there's enough insurance behind it that you're going to get it written.
Right.
And then they don't need to be in a PEO. But that's not how they started, right? They started with 10 or 15 people. And again, that's just an example, as roofing is one of them, landscaping. There's quite a few categories
the
that
tree
are out
trimmers
there where they can't get workman's comp. And so they go to the employee leasing space to get that. Otherwise, they can't run their business. Right. And that totally makes sense. But what they don't realize is when they needed to go there at the beginning and now they grow to that larger company, you actually can go look at that 5 years later. You can go in and say, hey, I can get that written now. Let's get you written and let's move you out of that employee leasing space back into traditional payroll. The cost savings is advantageous, right? Yes. You look at the way that most, I don't say all, but most PEOs are out there charging a percentage of payroll. Whether that's 1.5%, 2%, I've seen 7.5%, 8%. So it depends, but like it could be very costly, especially if when you're small, it doesn't seem like a big number, but now you grow, it's a percentage that grows pretty big. Now, and then there's a few out there that's charged like a per person, but typically they're looking to collect between $800 and $1,600 a head.
Wow.
Annually, right? So you start doing that math that in the non-traditional payroll space, that adds up pretty quick on the admin side. So from that aspect, we would be able to come in if it makes sense and save them a lot of money. Now, there's other reasons too that they need to be there. It could be, again, this happens a lot within the smaller space where they're looking for the HR element that they can't get, or they're looking for the
group
healthcare, right? Yep. So those are reasons why it makes sense for you to be there. But again, as you grow, I tell people all the time, I look for that. Like say, hey, if you're an employee leasing right now, do you have to be there?
Why?
Yes. Because you might need to be there.
Why did you join and why are you still there? The reasons may be different and they don't need to.
And they don't even realize it. So, I'm bringing a client on, and I don't want to talk about clients' names and stuff. But
no. Yeah.
But I'm bringing a client on this week and they didn't even realize they were in employee leasing. Like they just were like, oh, this is what it is. And they're a small company with under 20 people and we're going to save them over $20,000. Now, that's not the same for everyone. And by the way, that company was on the lower end of the PEO spectrum. They were paying the per person cost, not the percentage cost. If it was a percentage cost, we probably would have saved them 50 or 60 grand.
Wow.
So, but when they started, they had to be there.
You know what it is too, but that's what happens is that it happens with the payroll companies. Well, really any service a business uses, right? It's just so convenient sometimes to just stay because but in situations like that, it could be costing you so much money that it's just worth sitting down with an honest professional that will tell you. And I know that you do that. If that's where they belong and you can't help them or make it better, then they stay.
I'll even go a step further. I like to think of us as consultants.
Right.
Because obviously I'm not a specialist at everything, but I have in my portfolio a book of people that I trust,
right?
That we lean on each other. One of the things I would say is if I run into someone that's in a PEO, that doesn't mean they're in the right PEO.
Right.
So I could go and start talking to them and start uncovering some stuff and go, hey, wait a minute. You're right. You need to be here, but you don't need to be paying 8%. Let's go talk to this group of people because there's a brokerage of PEOs and they can actually make that compete in its own space.
Right.
How can we get you into a better PEO, provide you maybe a better healthcare, get you the workman's comp at a rate that's realistic, right? So like a lot of times people don't realize this either. And you're in a PEO space, again, you have to be there for a reason.
Right.
But it sucks if you have to be there, but they're charging you 1.4% on the mod when they could just charge you 1% and it'd still be okay. Right. So maybe it's time to look at moving to a different PEO. So if I feel like I can't help you get out and I need to help you stay in,
right.
I want to do it in a more efficient way. So we'll bring people to the table that can help with that. And by the way, there's even opportunities, like not all PEOs are the same.
Correct.
Right. So if you're still doing the whole fashioned manual, fill out the paperwork and fax it in, which there's some PEO companies that are super blue collar. That's all they do still. Well, maybe it's time for you to look at how you can streamline that cost with a PEO that can do the stuff that I just talked about, right? Whether it's not Heartland, but to get those technologies in place will help you grow your business. Applicant tracking is a big one, right? So when you talk about hiring folks and you have somebody that's sitting there and they're writing a job post and they're putting it on Indeed and they're writing another job post and putting it on Google, and then they write another one and put it on LinkedIn. Time out, stop. You're doing a lot of work over and over again. again, whether it's Heartland or somewhere else, like get an applicant tracking platform that's going to merge everything together so you can do it once and then push it all out there. And then, are you using text to apply? You're desperate for people to work for you. Don't expect them to fill out that paper and bring it back to you. Make it super simple for them so they can just literally text and then from their phone fill everything out.
Yeah. Didn't even know that's what the applicant tracking was. That's great.
Yeah.
It's also a more attractive way even for the applicant to think, well, wow, these people are they're into technology if I don't have to do the paper application thing. So
Absolutely.
Right off the bat.
And here's a crazy thing too. I actually we have a partner that, again, you're in a PEO and it's the right PEO for you. The pricing's good, but they don't have applicant tracking. Well, I know folks that's all they do. So there's a way for us to then take that and use that element so that you can take that and work with the current PEO. So again, there's a lot of different ways to skin a cat, right?
Yeah.
And so our whole thing is, let's talk to the customer. Let's see how we can help them. And if we're the fit, great. If not, we're going to get them to where they need to be to even be more efficient than they were yesterday. And if they're where they're supposed to be, tell them to stay.
Right.
Right. I tell people all the time, if you're happy, if none of the services that are being provided you don't already have, you have them all, you're good. Don't move over price, because that's the stupidest reason to move. Yep. Right. If you're saving we're not talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? We're talking about, is the headache of moving worth saving $500?
Right.
Probably not.
Usually
right?
No.
But if that's not the headache and you have a real headache, then let's fix it.
Right.
And then it's worth moving because you're actually fixing a problem.
And it could be worth spending more. It doesn't matter. If you have a headache and you're providing a solution, the cost goes out the window, which is kind of our approach. And that's why it works for us, because we approach it all the same. We're providing value or fixing problems. We're not shoving payroll or insurance,
absolutely
down businesses.
I tell people all the time, if I can provide more value than you have now,
right, then you win.
Then we win. We win together, right?
Right.
And thank you for the opportunity to let me partner with you.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah. One last question, which we didn't really go over, but I figured I'll just throw it at you anyways.
Okay.
So because you deal with so many business owners, right, at all levels, starting, established, on their way out, if that, what would be one piece of advice that you would give to a business owner, whether starting or, any, really?
So here's what I would tell you. I would tell you that there are many. So how do I put this? Like, every business owner wants you to see that they're all put together, that
Mm-hmm.
there's nothing wrong with anything that they're doing. Everything's perfect. And what I would tell you is that's never true.
Mm-hmm.
As a business owner, we always have something that we're dealing with in the background.
Right.
So my advice would be, make sure that you have a group of individuals that are your support system. And if, as an example, you're a business owner, you've been in business a long time, you have a lot of connections. Have you made those connections connect?
Mm-hmm.
This is big for me, because what I mean by that is, yeah, okay, I'm your payroll person and you're their insurance person, and someone else is doing their healthcare, and someone else is helping them with their financial side. They have a financial advisor. They have a CPA. That's 5 different people. Do they all know each other? And if they don't, it's your job. You're the quarterback of your company to connect them all. Why? Because it's very possible that you don't even realize that one of us could be having a conversation with another one and find a solution that could maybe save you money or provide a better value for you that we just never knew to talk about, right? So the CPA is a big one, right?
Right.
As an example, like, I'll start talking to the CPA and they'll be like, oh, you do WASI tax credits? Really? Yeah, absolutely, right? Or I'll have a conversation. I'm like, hey, the business owner's trying to pay themselves $150,000 a year. Is that okay with you? And they look and go, no.
Right.
What are we, crazy? Like, they're not that profitable. They shouldn't be doing that, right? And so I'm not a CPA, not financial advice. But
you know a really good one.
But I do. But the idea is that they are having the ability to, because we communicate, then they're going to go back and say, hold on a second. I didn't tell you that. Why are you doing that? Like, oh, well, so-and-so. No. So if you make us all get in a room, we can come up with ideas and things that we wouldn't know individually to talk to you about.
And it's also,
and that helps you grow.
Right. And it's maximizing their dollars that they spend for all these individual services. Like, why? I think that's the problem too, where you're looked at it like that. Insurance typically is too. We're not at the level, right, of their attorney or their CPA, but we should be. And they should see us that way. And that's why I think the fact that we provide the value and the education and those extra services puts us at that level.
It's funny. I make jokes all the time. I say, I get it that the CPA is the number one. And then, the insurance and payroll guy, we're down a couple notches. But here's the deal. I'm not asking to be at the exact same level as
Right.
your most trusted,
Right.
valuable partner, the CPA. But at the same time, what we do helps keep your business
Right.
in line. From a compliance perspective on the payroll side, it's a big deal.
Mhm.
People just don't even realize how many things they do wrong that just cost them money for no reason. That's the same in insurance, right? If you don't properly insure your stuff, house, car, buildings, whatever they are, then you're in trouble. And so here's the thing. When we're talking to those other partners, all of us together are more elevated and a better benefit to you
To them. Yep.
as a business owner. And by the way, if we're all talking and helping you fix problems you don't even know you have, how much better of a business owner are you, because you're literally getting to concentrate on your business.
Right. Right. I think that's really good advice. And I being younger, as an agency owner and playing in the space that I'm playing in, it's typically not a female driven space. Right. So I feel like that's kind of why I've built the bunker to be a little more aggressive in our branding and in our look, and that's what I tell them. I'm not an insurance agent. I'm a risk manager. I have the designation. I am a certified risk manager, and I want them to view me where they view those people. And I always tell them, you're paying me way less, by the way, than your attorney. I don't turn on the clock for you to talk to me.
I love how you say you're young, like if you're new at this, but you're not.
I'm not
doing this for a long time,
that's
especially because, like, I mean, it's a family business at this point, right? You started like as a kid, whether you wanted to be in this business or not. This was just like, it was driven into you since you were young, like teenager, young, right?
Yeah.
So, you're very experienced,
Right.
and that's a big deal too, right? So, like, I talk about this all the time. I'm like, okay, so my competition is, I won't say girl guy, but just some young up and coming, just out of college, kind of that they just got taught how to sell this 10 minutes ago.
Yes.
Is that the expert you want on your side?
Exactly.
They're going to disappear anyways.
Well, and that's what we tell them too. Those specialists that are coming in to take your payroll, they are not licensed insurance agents, and you're turning your workers' comp over to them. And it's just going to go to a 1-800 number somewhere else.
You brought this up, so I want to say this. This is important. And again, this isn't about Heartland specifically. It's about just payroll companies in general. When you go to switch from a payroll company to a different payroll company, when you go to sign those documents, make sure you know what you're signing, right? Like, you should be signing the power of attorney. We need to talk to the IRS for both the state and federal, right? We need to talk to the state that you're in so we can handle the RT6, or in Florida as an example, the unemployment reemployment tax. But I shouldn't be signing any kind of broker of record changes, right? So know what you're signing, because a lot of times the rep is selling you something. They're not even part of that. It's just part of the package.
Right.
And you're literally handing over your business to an insurance broker, ADP, or whoever, and taking that away from your trusted advisor, and you don't even know you're doing it. So just look at what you're signing, because a lot of times it's a scramble at that point, because you're like, I didn't even know I did that.
Right. Oh, we get that call all the time, because we would get the notice and saying, it happened to me recently, which is the one that we spoke about with the payroll, that they rolled in like 6 months for free on the payroll. And immediately you're like, no, they're actually paying this much more over for those free 6 months. But, they took the workers' comp from me. And when I got the notice, the gentleman says, oh, I didn't even know. I didn't even know that's what I was signing.
Yeah, it's all the time. And so I tell people to be careful, right? Like, we're very transparent with what we do. And I tell people, like, look, this is what we're going to do. And by the way, pay as you go is a huge benefit in the workman's comp space, but it's not always needed, right?
No.
And so we tell people
that I told this gentleman, I said, you don't even have 1099s. You have like 4 employees, and they're they're
all salary. Like,
they're salary.
There's no reason to connect that, right?
You're not a contractor that has 75 employees, and they're working it's not that difficult.
And from that space, I tell people all the time, like, just because I can do something doesn't mean we need to.
Right.
Right. So if whatever is in place now makes sense, don't worry about it. Now, if you have a lot of fluctuation, you go up and down in employee headcount, tons of part-time people working, and your business model is one that goes up and down and up and down.
Right. Then it's worth it.
It's worth setting it up, because it cleans all that up and makes it nice and smooth and easy at the end of the year when you have to do the audit. But if self-reporting is all you need because it's fixed, everyone's the same, and don't change it. Right. You don't need it, right? So I tell people that all the time.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank you
Thank
for
you.
your time.
I
Thanks for
appreciate it.
coming, and I appreciate you being my first victim.
Hopefully, listen. I'd love to come back. We can do. We can talk about different
We
topics
can talk
too.
about everything.
Okay.
Anything. If you want to bring a guest, let's have some fun. And you know, I know that you're very ingrained in the community. So am I. We both have pretty extensive networks, and we know a lot of professionals that are great. And I'd love to, you know, maybe you'll be my co-host. Who knows? Maybe we'll just sit here and talk it up.
Listen, I'm not opposed to that. By the way, that could be fun. I mean, I didn't think about it until just now, but that could be some fun. And I'd always love to have a third or fourth person in here, and we can have fun together.
Yeah. Thanks.
Right. I'll talk to you later.